ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? Me, you, me, Louie T. Welcome to Championship Sunday overtime. NFC Championship game, the 1-seeded San Francisco 49ers hosting the 3-seeded Detroit Lions for a chance to go to Super Bowl 58 to meet the Kansas City Chiefs, the 3-seed on the AFC side of the bracket. This game started out as well as one could script it for the Detroit Lions on the road. Got the ball first, took it right down the field, scored a touchdown, had all the momentum, built a 24-7 lead at the halftime break. Total domination by the Lions in the first half, but this was literally a tale of two halves as the Lions were outscored 27-0 at one point in the second half of this game, and the roles were reversed, the tables were turned, and the score was flipped. And all of a sudden, the 49ers are up 34-24 with 3 minutes to go. The Lions would score a touchdown, but still fall short 34-31 as the San Francisco 49ers make it back to the Super Bowl for the first time since 2020, the second time under Kyle Shanahan, where coincidentally enough, they met the same team that they'll be facing in Super Bowl 58, the Kansas City Chiefs, when Mahomes won his first Super Bowl. Remember, the 49ers were up 20-7 in that game before imploding and losing 31-20. So that should be a fascinating contest. We've got 2 weeks to talk about that. Let's talk about this particular game and how the outcome came to be. And we start with the San Francisco 49ers. To the victors, go the spoils. What a gutsy performance. You know, so much was made of the 49ers' inability to play from behind. We saw what the record was, 0-30 when trailing by a touchdown or more in the fourth quarter. These are the types of games that they've lost routinely over the years. One last week and then a dramatic come-from-behind victory with Brock Purdy authoring the biggest drive of his life. And then running it back this week. And Purdy, his legs were the difference in this game, if we're being honest with one another. Really, it started, the comeback did, with the defense getting the stop. Questionable decision by Dan Campbell. We'll talk about that when we get to the Detroit Lions side of things. But Ayuk making the catch, that was not a great throw by Brock Purdy. And I only think they picked the flag up because he caught the football. Had that not been a catch, I think they would have called pass interference. I wouldn't have loved the call had they called pass interference, but he did run into Brandon Ayuk and impeded his process to getting to the football. That said, Ayuk makes a ridiculous catch after the carom off of the face mask of Kendall Vildor. And so they picked the flag up. And from that point on, it's like the momentum totally flipped. And I know there are people out there who don't believe momentum is real. Uncle Mo is real. He exists and he lives and he breathes. And if you don't adhere to momentum and you don't think it's a real thing, look at this football game. I mean, explain how you can go from a 24-7 lead for the Lions where they're dominating, and the 49ers, it feels like a hopeless end to their season, to where they're up 10, right? And you could just point to some of the decisions made by Dan Campbell. I'd just tell you that momentum shifted from the Ayuk catch to then the Ayuk touchdown to the fumble by Jahmyr Gibbs to the touchdown to tie the game, to them getting another stop, the 49ers taking the lead on a field goal, the Lions having a chance to tie the game up, go for it again, don't get it, 49ers march right back down the field, Purdy with a big run, McCaffrey with a big run, and they're in the end zone, and now it's 34. I mean, like, Uncle Mo literally got up off the Detroit Lions sideline, walked across the field, and never came back. But you got to start with Brock Purdy. You know, so much was made of his performance last week. And really in the first half of this game, he wasn't good again. Now, I will say this. a lot of the mistakes and the things that were happening, some of it was out of his control. Like last week, he was missing receivers. You know, the ball wasn't coming out of his hands good. I told you, I think he struggles throwing in the rain. There was no such issues today. Beautiful day out in Santa Clara. And so there was no excuses for him. He needed to perform. And the interception that he threw, his hand got hit. You know, you can make an excuse for that. Like his interior, his right guard rather, got bull rushed right into his lap. And that ball was tipped, coming out of his hands, and it got picked off, right? But even with the struggles early and him and this offense not getting off to a great start and he never really panicked. He didn't look flustered. He stayed the course. And more importantly, Kyle Shanahan stayed the course. They didn't get away from the run. They didn't panic, down 17. They continue to play San Francisco 49ers football. Continue to run the ball, continue to run those in-breaking routes, continue to get the ball to McCaffrey. I told you guys my key to the game was turnovers, right? Who would turn it over the least amount of times between the two teams? Obviously, the Lions turned it over more than the 49ers. Both technically only had one turnover in the game, right? Gibbs fumble, Purdy's pick. However, the Lions turning it over on downs is a turnover to me. When you have an opportunity to get points and you don't, and you fail on fourth down, that's a turnover to me. So I got to factor those two missed opportunities into the equation because that was opportunities to score points potentially. At the end of the day, I told you guys that if Christian McCaffrey, I said if Jared Goff doesn't turn it over, and he didn't, and Christian McCaffrey, and this was the other piece of that equation, if Christian McCaffrey was held under 130 yards of total offense and two touchdowns. So I said, if he has 129 yards and one touchdown, the Lions will win this game. Anything north of 129 total yards from scrimmage and one touchdown, they're going to lose this game. Christian McCaffrey had 132 yards of all-purpose offense, 90 yards rushing, 42 receiving, and he had two touchdowns. I told you if he went over 130 and a score, or 129 and a score, they were going to lose, and they did, right? So he was the key. He's the guy that changes everything. Like somebody said before, pound for pound, he may be the best player in the NFL, and he definitely continues to show that week in and week out as he continues to get it done at a high level. But this is about Brock Purdy making throws, making plays, using his legs. He used his legs countless times tonight. There's been this misconception about Purdy that he's not athletic. And I heard Greg Olsen continue to say, he's not a great athlete. Like, what are you talking about? This guy can move. He's a really good athlete. What are you talking about? Like, no, he's not Lamar Jackson. Who the hell is? Okay. He's plenty athletic. He's shown it all season long. He extends plays with his legs. He can run if he has to. He's more than capable of breaking your back on 3rd and 6. He proved it today multiple times, right? So this narrative that Brock Purdy can't escape, can't extend, can't make plays with his legs, hogwash. And he showed it again today. And I don't know what people have been watching with Brock Purdy this entire season, but this is what this guy's been doing this year. When he needs to use his legs and pull out his do-it-yourself kit, he's more than capable of doing so. And he did it very well tonight. And that was really the difference in the game in terms of the 49ers keeping drives alive and ultimately scoring points, especially in that second half. So shout out to Brock Purdy for stepping up and making the plays when his team had to make them, making the throws. I thought he started off the second half well on that opening drive with the field goal, with that throw to Deebo Samuel, kind of set the tone, right over the middle. That's what they want to do, get to that second level throw over the middle of the field in stride. I thought that kind of set the tone. Even the throw to Jennings on that third down, which was a risky proposition. If Jennings goes up and pulls it down with one hand, you don't want to have that ball be put in a risky position like that. But for Jennings to go up and get it, I mean, Purdy made plays. He made things happen in this game. Even the touchdown to Ayuk, he has to slide in the pocket, reset his feet, and then throw a dime, and he does, in between the two defenders that were converging on the football. So, it wasn't always pretty for Purdy, but when they needed him to step up, he made it happen. And of all the guys that Cam Newton called game managers, I think that was the one that I kind of batted an eye at. Like, we watching the same guy? Brock Purdy, game manager? I wasn't buying that. Dak Prescott, sure. Jared Goff, definitely. All right. Tua, absolutely. Brock Purdy, not sure about that. But hey, to each its own, right? So Brock Purdy continues to get it done, continues to change the narrative. And for the second consecutive year, he makes it to the NFC Championship game. This year, doesn't get hurt and is able to finish the job and get his team to the Super Bowl, where they'll be taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Good for Brock Purdy and excellent for Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and his 49ers organization. You look at Kyle Shanahan and this offense overall, and Christian McCaffrey, wow, what a stud he is. He'll be Offensive Player of the NFL this year for sure. He won't win MVP. That'll go to Lamar, but he will win the NFL Offensive Player of the Year this year. Will Christian McCaffrey, and much deserved. Hopefully he's okay. He got slammed down on his neck at the end of this game, came out, allowed Elijah Mitchell to run that last touchdown in there, and Elijah Mitchell took all the carries at the end. So we saw them, working on his neck. He's got 2 weeks he'll play in the Super Bowl. I'm not worried about that, but just hope he's okay. But man, McCaffrey is such an animal, and a lot of his yards in this game, and really a lot of the yards this season, have come after initial contact. He's getting hit. He's breaking a tackle. There was a vicious stiff arm that he put. I want to say it was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. It was one of those secondary members that came up and got a palm full of a nasty, vicious, flavor delicious stiff arm. Put his ass down, made another dude miss, and got inside like the 10-yard line to set up an opportunity to score. I think they ended up getting a touchdown on that possession, if I'm not mistaken. So McCaffrey was outstanding in this game. And as I mentioned, if he got over 130, and he did, and he got over one touchdown, and he did, they were going to win this game, and they did. It was imperative that you hold him down, similar to the way Green Bay did outside of that one rush, but they weren't able to do that. And that's because of Kyle Shanahan's dedication to the run, which is where we're going next. I'm happy for Kyle. I'm a big Kyle Shanahan fan, as you guys know. The only thing missing on his resume is a Super Bowl championship. Without that, there are going to be the detractors out there that are going to continue to point to his lack of success in some of these big games. He's got to win a Super Bowl in order to, change that narrative. But these last two games, I think, not only changed the narrative for him as a coach, but I think it speaks to the growth and maturation of this team. I don't know if the 49ers a year ago, 2 years ago, would have been able to overcome the Green Bay deficit, but more importantly, and more specifically, tonight's deficit. They were down big, like 17 points big. And they were being thoroughly dominated. And yes, the Lions had a hand in them coming back with some of the decisions and some of the plays that they did not make. Absolutely. But they still had to make the plays themselves to complete the comeback. It wasn't going to be just good enough that Detroit didn't get it done. They were up. They didn't have to get it done. They could have done what the Chiefs did and simply just hung on for dear life. They were up big enough. The 49ers were going to have to make plays, and that they did. And you got to credit Kyle Shanahan for getting it done, whether it be getting it to Deebo Samuel, whether it be finally getting George Kittle involved, whether it be Brock Purdy using his legs to bail him out, or getting it to Christian McCaffrey, whatever the case may be, or Brandon Ayuk, who has been your best receiver all season long. Whatever the case may be, they ran the football. They continued to stay balanced. They stayed true to who they were all season long, and it paid off huge dividends, and they ultimately win this game 34-31. Defensively, the 49ers have a lot of shit to clean up. They've gotten progressively worse defensively as this season has worn on, it feels like. Obviously, the Ravens game towards the end of the season, I didn't think they were that impressive against Washington towards the end of the season, but they won that game, and they didn't have to play their starters in Week 18, but I didn't think they were all that impressive to finish up the season defensively. And then the game against Green Bay, I didn't think they were great defensively in that game either. Thought the Packers made some mistakes and cost themselves an opportunity. And I don't think they were great defensively today either. And a lot of missed opportunities by the Lions in this game, drop passes, Goff having to roll out, guys open and Goff just missing them because he's on the move. And we know that Goff on the move is a different quarterback than Goff with his feet set in the pocket. They don't get pressure on the quarterback. We talked about that because their defensive coordinator, Steve Wilks, isn't a blitzer. And we talked about you're going to have to pressure Jared Goff. and they didn't pressure him for much of the day. Yes, he got sacked once or twice. Those sacks were because Goff held on to the ball and decided not to put the ball in harm's way. They were good sacks that he took, other than the second one where he could have probably thrown it away back of the end zone. He didn't have to take that sack. If I'm not mistaken, I might be thinking about Brock Purdy, who took that bad sack in the red zone. He could have thrown it out the back of the end zone. That was Brock Purdy. Goff's 2 sacks, I think maybe he was sacked 3 times. He could have gotten rid of the ball every single time, but he chose to hold on to it just to make sure that I'd rather take a sack than a turnover, right? And that was one of the keys, is he couldn't turn the ball over. He couldn't be reckless, and he wasn't. But they didn't get good pressure on him. He had time to deliver the football tonight. And I worry about this defense. Their secondary isn't great. The linebackers are all world. We know that. And they cover up for some of the deficiencies in the secondary. But if you don't get pressure on Mahomes, you're going to get annihilated. Like, their offense isn't great, but their defense is good enough to shut down this 49ers offense. Their defense is good enough. Now, one of the keys to the game will be, and we'll talk about this as we get closer and closer to that Super Bowl 58 contest between the Chiefs and the 49ers, it's going to be the Chiefs' ability to stop the run and the 49ers' ability to run the football, because I think they're going to put the clamps down on this 49ers offense from a passing standpoint. But remember, the Bills had tremendous success running the football, and the Ravens just failed to run the football. They just didn't make a concerted effort to run it today. So you may be able to run the ball on the Chiefs. And if you're able to run it on them, there will be some opportunities for Brock Purdy to throw those, dig routes and those drift routes over the middle of the football field, and they'll be in business then. But this defense is not one that I trust right now all that much. I mean, if Detroit would have made some plays, I think the outcome is different in this game. So I do not trust them defensively. I don't think that Steve Wilks is doing a great job right now. I don't trust that they're going to get pressure with 4. And I have questions. I have a lot of questions defensively right now. But again, you just got to find a way to get it done one more time. That's it. And the Chiefs aren't world beaters on offense, but they do have Patrick Mahomes. They do have Patrick Mahomes. And they do have Travis Kelce. And they do have Rashid Rice. And they do have MVS. And they do have guys that are capable, right? So we're going to see what happens. And I'll say this too. The run defense been shoddy. Been really shoddy. Aaron Jones took you to the woodshed. The Lions had success running the football. Everybody that touched it on the ground for the Lions tonight had success, including the receiver, Williams, who had 1 touch, and that went to the house. Gibbs, Sands for the fumble, devoured you on the ground. Big touchdown run, all of that good stuff. And Montgomery set the tone early. So I really don't trust this 49ers defense right now. It's the same thing I said about Detroit's defense. I didn't trust them coming into this game. They had given up over 400 yards of total offense in the first 2 playoff games, and the offense had bailed them out. But I said, if you're going to do that again against San Francisco, I don't know if you're going to have a favorable outcome. I kind of feel the same way about San Francisco's defense right now. You weren't all that impressive last week. You were definitely not impressive this week. You can't get pressure on the quarterback. And if you don't get to Mahomes, if you don't make him uncomfortable, if you don't force him off the spot, he's going to pick you apart. If you have the same defensive performance you had today, you will lose 2 weeks from now. But that said, they showed resiliency. They got stops when they needed to on 4th downs, on some pivotal situations. You overcame a Jake Moody miss early in the game. It's hard to take young guys anywhere, man. The young fellas, it's just tough bringing young fellas with you because they generally don't know how to act. But he bounced back after that miss, made all of his kicks from that point forward, and was able to help the 49ers punch their ticket to Super Bowl 58. So big win for the 49ers. Hell of a comeback. And now you have a chance to seek revenge. As we all know, revenge is a dish best served ice cold, and the 49ers are looking to be cold-blooded. See if they can get it done. You move to the Detroit Lions side of things, and let me first say to the Lions fans out there, and there's no consoling you right now, and you don't want to hear this right now, and this is tough. And I don't think any Lions fans are watching right now. This is something you may watch on playback, or it might be too painful for you to watch on playback, and you just don't want any parts of this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It was a hell of a run, and you have nothing to be ashamed of. And I would love to sit here and tell you that, hey, you'll be back again, and this is just the beginning, and there's a bright future, and you're going to re-sign Jared Goff this offseason, and you've got all the pieces that you need and all the makings of a team that could be in the mix for the next 4 to 5 years. I'd love to lie to you. I would love to lie to you and tell you that, because that sounds better than what I'm about to say. But the reality of the situation is you're about to lose Ben Johnson. And if you're a Washington fan out there, this is why Ben Johnson has to be the hire, because it doesn't matter how good your coach is. If you lose a piece of your staff like Ben Johnson, there's no coming back from that. Unless the next guy is as good, equally as good, or better, there's no coming back from that. You can't survive losing a guy like Ben Johnson, who was the mastermind behind this offensive attack the last 2 seasons and the resurgence of this Lions football team. I love Dan Campbell to death, and we're going to talk about him specifically, but Ben Johnson is just as much responsible for the success of this team as Dan Campbell is. And that might be a bit of a stretch. I might have overstepped my boundaries just a bit, maybe, because Campbell has been huge in all of this. But you remove Ben Johnson from this equation, and I guarantee you they're not where they're at right now. They're not in the NFC Championship game with a 17-point lead at halftime, looking like they're going to head to Super Bowl 58. I'm going to tell you what losing Ben Johnson is going to be a lot like. It's going to be a lot like the Atlanta Falcons losing Kyle Shanahan to the San Francisco 49ers after that Super Bowl season, which they fell short, up 28-3, blew the lead. Does it sound familiar to you? 28-3, blew the lead, largest lead lost in Super Bowl history, lose to the Patriots. Shanahan goes on to become the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. You see what they're doing. The rest is history, right? The Falcons never returned to that level again, because offensively, Matt Ryan was never going to be the same. Julio Jones was never going to be the same. Roddy White was at the end of his career. Michael Turner, all of these pieces that you were never going to be as good without Kyle Shanahan, because he was the straw that stirred that drink. Your defense was never great in Atlanta. The offense was just that good. Matt Ryan never returned to MVP form after Kyle Shanahan left. And they never got remotely close to the NFC Championship game again, let alone the Super Bowl. They made it back to the playoffs the following year, but they got bounced in the first round, either by the Rams or they beat the Rams and then lost to the Eagles. Whatever the case may be, they weren't the same team. And I hate to break it to you. This was your opportunity. This was your chance, and you blew it. And I know you don't want to hear that right now, and it sucks. But this is why it's important to have that offensive guy that's your play caller be your head coach. Because now you're going to have to find somebody. You got to pray that one of these dudes on the staff, and Ben Johnson's a unique individual. He's a unique play caller because he doesn't come from a tree. And I talked about that in my tail of the tape between him and Bobby Slowick. He doesn't come from a tree. So what he does isn't easily duplicated. You've heard what players have said. This guy does a great job of listening to the players, taking in the information that they're giving him, using their strengths, and building an offense around their skill sets. You can't duplicate that easily. The biggest loser in all of this is Jared Goff. Ben Johnson came in, instilled confidence in that man, and made him a winner again. Reminded him that he was the #1 overall pick in the 2016 NFL draft. Now somebody else is going to have to pick up the pieces that were left behind by Ben Johnson as he takes this next step in his career to become a head coach. And someone's going to have to take that mantle and hopefully be able to continue to help the Lions as they look to become a force in the NFC consistently. This was your shot, though. You'll never have a better chance than the one you had this season, and specifically tonight. Let's talk about Dan Campbell and the decisions that he made first. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because we've done this before. This is who he's been. This is who Dan Campbell is, who he's been, and who he'll always be. And when you're aggressive, and I tweeted this out, if you live aggressively, the death will be spectacular. That's why rock stars die at the age of 24, especially back in the 60s and the 70s, because they lived aggressive lives, did drugs, partied hard, sex, booze, all of the stuff that people grandize. And then just like that, Morrison, Hendrix, you're gone at 24, right? When you live aggressively, you die a spectacular death. And I tweeted that out because I saw the writing on the wall when the fact that he even thought about not kicking the field goal before halftime. I'm like, Dan, what are we doing here? You got a chance to make it a 3-score game, bro. It's one thing if you up 11. Nah, go for the touchdown. I get it. Because a field goal is still 2 scores. It don't matter. I don't care. Go ahead. Do it. Do it. If it was 21-10, had Moody made the field goal earlier in the game, and it's at that point of the game, it's 21-10, he would have gone for it, and I would have been okay with that. And whether they got it or not, I would have been able to live with those results. Because 14 and 11, there's not that big of a difference. Truly, it isn't. Not that big of a difference. 17, though, is a game changer. Because that forces them, no matter what they do, it forces them to have to score 3 times. Forces them, no matter, they can go for 2 twice, get it both times, they still down 1. It just changes everything. I didn't love the decision after the 49ers got the field goal to make it 24-10. I did not love the decision to not take the field goal there. I thought it was over aggressive. And this is when I tweeted it out. Live aggressively, die a spectacular death, essentially, is what I said. Because you had a chance to push it back out to 3 scores. And that was what was important. Think about it in these terms, right? Think about it from this point of view. And this is the perspective that I look at it from. This is the lens that I view it from. How demoralizing is it that you get a drive, you feel good about this drive, it results in 3, you cut it from a 17-point lead down to 14, and you feel good about what you just did, right? Back to 2-score game. Now let's see if the defense can get a stop, and the offense for the other team moves it right down the field. Your defense lets you down, and they go get a field goal right back. So all the ground, the momentum that you just built, kaput, gone. It's back to where it was at halftime. You're back down 17, and now half of the third quarter is gone already. Hell, maybe even a little over half of the third quarter is gone, and you've made up no ground. That's the way I was looking at it. So I'm like, yo, bro, take the points. But Dan is like, that's not who I am. That's never who I've been. Game 1 of the season, on the road at Kansas City, we faked a punt on the first possession at our own 24-yard line, bro. This is who I am. This is who I always will be. I can't change. This is always me. I got it. So I'm not upset when he goes for it on 4th down. And look, Goff is moved off of his spot. Is it an accurate ball? No. Is it a catchable ball? You damn right it is. And Reynolds just doesn't catch it. Not a bad call. You can second guess the decision all you like, but that's who he's been. The one I didn't like, and I really was not understanding the logic behind this, was you're down 3. You got a chance to tie the game up. What are we doing right now, buddy? Seriously, what are we doing right now? The goal, when you get to this point of the game, the goal is to extend the game, to give yourself a chance. That was too aggressive for me. And I get it. This is who he is. But you're down 27-24. They've got all the momentum. Take the field goal. You never know what happens. Now Brock Purdy's got a whole different pressure on him. The game is tied. He's never been here before. Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl before. Okay? So he's not going to flinch. Brock Purdy's never been to a Super Bowl before. So who knows what Brock Purdy's going to do in a 27-27 game with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter? Who knows what he's going to do? He might panic and throw a pick six. We'll never get to find out because you didn't put that game pressure on him. Maybe Brock Purdy does what he did last week against Green Bay and takes him down the field on a game-winning touchdown drive. You know what? I'd like to find the hell out, though. I'd like to find out. It's a lot easier. And we saw what he ended up doing. Took him down the field, and they got a touchdown. But you know what he was doing? He was playing with a 3-point lead. That's a lot different than, hey, you punt this thing, we might not get it back and we may lose. Versus, hey, we punt this thing, we still up 3, right? Totally different animal. Your thought process changes as a player. Tied versus up 3. I didn't think that was necessary. And once again, guys were open. Reynolds was open. Jared Goff, if he would have just stood in the pocket, I think he bailed out of the pocket a little bit earlier than he needed to. If he'd have just stood tall, Reynolds was open. I don't know if he's going to catch the bitch. He had already dropped the big third down, wide-ass open play already. He'd already dropped the fourth down. I don't know if he would have caught the bitch. But he was open. Down inside the 15-yard line. This is not a good 49ers defense right now. He was open. And even as Goff rolled out, and this is where Goff struggles because I told you he's not the same quarterback with his feet moving as he is with his feet set. Amon-Ra St. Brown was open. And he throws a wobbly duck that doesn't make it to him. If that's Mahomes, either that's a first down conversion or that's a touchdown. Like, you can't get away with this shit in 2 weeks if you don't clean some of this shit up. See, it's Jared Goff, so you can get away with it. That's a tough way to go out, but that's who Dan Campbell's been. That's who he's always been. And I'm not going to kill him for that. I'm not going to kill him for that. I can't be mad at a man for, they wouldn't be where they are if Dan Campbell wasn't this aggressive. They wouldn't be where they are right now. So now the question is, can you get back here? Can you get back here without Ben Johnson? It's going to be pretty damn tough. It's going to be pretty tough. Pretty damn tough. So you go to offense, and I thought Jared Goff played well. I got no complaints with the effort he put forth. Avoided a sack on a fourth down, gave Reynolds an opportunity. He dropped it. Was it the best ball? No. But for him to have to step up, avoid a sack, reset his feet, I'll take that throw from Jared Goff all day, right? He didn't turn it over. He didn't fumble. He didn't do anything. He never put the team in harm's way. He didn't even have a pass close to being picked off, really, in this game. I thought he gave them a chance to win. The third down that he, threw to Reynolds and it went right out of his hands. Like, I mean, what more you want Jared Goff to do? Threw another pass to another receiver. They dropped it, right? Might have been Reynolds again. Then he had the throw to Jameson Williams, and he tried to give it to the defender. Nah, I don't want it. You take it. And then Williams like, nah, I'm playing. Let me get that shit. Like, I don't know what else they want Jared Goff to do, right? I thought there was one throw that he missed. Because even the deep ball he threw to Jameson Williams on the flea flicker, I thought that was a great ball. I honestly thought that was pass interference. I thought that safety got there. Brown, thought he got there late. Or early, excuse me. I thought he got there early, but And Jameson Williams slowed down on that play. If you watch it again, he slowed down. He didn't think he was getting it. Then he sped up. He would have been right where that ball landed. But there was a throw to Sam Laporta when the score was tied at 24 on the possession that they went 3 and out on because of the drop by Josh Reynolds. But on the play before, he throws it to a wide open Sam Laporta. And he could have protected Laporta by throwing it behind him. He threw it out in front. Laporta stretches for it and gets hit as he's trying to corral the football. It's a great hit by the safety and dislodges the football. It's incomplete. If he throws that back shoulder behind him away from that contact, Laporta will catch it, be able to protect himself and the ball, and it's a completion, and who knows what happens on that drive. But even after that, the next play, Ben Johnson dials up a gem, and you got a wide open Josh Reynolds, and he drops the football, and Goff delivers it. Like, I thought Jared Goff did everything he needed to do to give them a chance to win. Even down to that, the tight end he threw it to, Anthony Ferguson. I'm like, bro, you used to be an athlete in Tennessee. What the was that? How you managed to step out? Like, all he had to do, it took him 6 steps to turn up the field, right? Like, bro, where your brakes at? Where your brakes at? If he catches that thing and immediately turns up the field, it's a walk-in touchdown. It took this dude 6 steps going towards the sidelines to turn up the field, and then he still steps out of bounds. Like, bro, where are your brakes? Clearly, they need some work. You need some new rotors or something. Like, that should have been a touchdown. They should have never had to use that first time out. They should have never come to that. I thought Goff gave them a chance. Unfortunately, not everybody made plays around him. Jahmyr Gibbs with a big fumble. He was spectacular this season. All those rookies were excellent. You know, that's a big mistake. You hate it for the kid because he was so good this year, great in the postseason, even great in this game. But that fumble was a backbreaker. You know, you're still up 7 at the time of that fumble, 24-17, and that it felt like the roof came off. There's no roof, but proverbial roof came off of Levi Stadium at that point. They were delirious. They knew they could smell blood at that point when he fumbled that ball. That's when Uncle Mo got up. Like, he had already gotten out of his chair and he was looking at the action on the field sideways, and he was like, do I need to cross? And when he fumbled, Uncle Mo just went ahead and started walking across the field. But they ran the football effectively. You know, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a really strong first half. He was non-existent in the second half. What happened, right? Like, that's one of your best players. You got to keep getting them the football. They had no answers for him in the first half. But again, it's easy to say that they didn't get it to him. They didn't have enough opportunities because guys like Josh Reynolds dropping the damn football. It's hard to get people involved. It's hard to get other players in your playmakers the ball when you're not getting enough opportunities because guys aren't converting on third downs the way they should. Or you're having a fumble. One play, possession over. Can't get the ball to my playmakers. Next possession, 3 and out because of a ball that my quarterback probably could have put on the back shoulder of my tight end and made it an easier catch for him to be able to protect himself. And then on the third down, my guy's running wide open for an easy first down, and he drops it. So I don't get to call any more plays. We got to play. This is tough. All in all, though, we can sit here and we can second guess Dan Campbell's decision to do this and do that and this drop and that drop. And, you know, he didn't do this and he fumbled that. The Lions scored 31 points on the road, 24 of them in the first half, and built a 17-point lead. 31 points on the road should be enough. And so we get to the defense, which is the thing that scared me the most coming into this game. I don't trust the Lions defense. Everybody's talking about Aaron Glenn this, Aaron Glenn that. For what? This defense is ass. For what? What is this man being interviewed for? He was on the verge of being fired last year. They kept him. He was better because you couldn't be much worse. And he reverted back to what they were last year in the playoffs. Ass against the Rams, ass last week against the Bucks, ass again this week. Did they give up 400 total this week? I'm pretty sure they did. McCaffrey had 90 rushing. Brock Purdy had over 200 yards passing. I'm pretty sure they gave up over 400 total in the game. They gave up 413 in the game. I mean, the 49ers gave up 442. Like I said, neither one of the defenses were any good. And like I said, if the 49ers play the way they played tonight against Kansas City next week or in 2 weeks, they're going to lose. How? Because that defense, if they fall behind 24-7 to Kansas City, that Chiefs defense ain't going to allow you to run off 27 unanswered. But this Lions defense isn't very good. And much like the 49ers, they aren't great at getting to the quarterback. They're better than the 49ers are right now, though. Aleem McNeil had a really good game. You know who had a really good game? Josh Pascal had a hell of a game, right? Hell of a game. Really impactful game, you know. But they're not great at getting to the quarterback either. And they allow Brock Purdy to break the pocket, hurt him up the A gaps, up the B gap, up the A gap for some big runs in this game. They did not tackle well. Like, the 49ers are one of the teams in the league that you have to tackle well against. They get so much of their yardage after the catch, after initial contact. You have to tackle. I can't tell you how many tackles Deebo Samuel broke tonight. I can't tell you how many tackles Christian McCaffrey broke tonight. A lot of McCaffrey's yards came after initial contact. Samuel probably had 70-something yards receiving. Let's see. Deebo had 89 yards receiving, and I bet you of the 89, I bet you 65 of them probably came after initial contact. He had the one big catch for 26 over the middle of the field, so subtract that one. So that leaves 63 yards. I'm going to say 55 of the 63 yards on the other 7 catches that he had came after initial contact. They did not tackle well in this game. But with that said, when you win as a team. When you lose as a team. And the offense had opportunities to pick them up. Offense had chances to pick them up, and they didn't. So it wasn't a good enough defensive effort. And once it started to rain, it poured. Not literally, obviously, figuratively, but they never got their bearings back after the IU, catch when they had a chance to pick it off. They never rebounded from that. It seemed like they just couldn't get their bearings after that. I don't know if they forced a 49ers punt after, like, they might have forced one punt in the second half. Feel like there was at least one, but it wasn't much more than that if they forced a punt at all in the second half. Field goal, touchdown, field goal, touchdown. Yep, they didn't force a single punt in the second half, and that's loser football, right? The 49ers had 5 possessions in the second half. Field goal, touchdown, field goal, and then the last possession was them running out the clock. So 6 if you want to be technical. But or was it 5? It was field goal, touchdown, field goal, touchdown. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, 5 possessions. Field goal, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, and then they ended the game on downs. That's loser football. Your offense spots you a 17-piece, and you systematically blow it. And again, the offense could have helped you. The coaching staff could have helped you with some of their decision-making. The offense could have gotten some things done. But if nothing else happened on that side of the ball, as long as they didn't turn it over and they were moving it, and every time they went for it on 4th down, it was deep in San Francisco territory. So even when they turned it over on downs, they still had to go the length of the field. 85, 90 yards. And you gave it up every time. You gave up the ass every single time. Never made them wait. And then I got to say this last thing because this frustrates me to no end. As a fan, as a diehard NFL fan, I love smart, good, clean, wholesome football. I can't stand the stupid shit. It drives me insane. I don't have any patience for it. So on that 3 and out after the Reynolds drop, your punter booms the shit out of he kicks the shit out of the football. So much so that bitch bounces and it checks up at the 2. And you got 2 Lions, special teamers running down there. And one of them I'll never understand. I think special teams players are the biggest meatheads on the field because and they're very selfish. The best ones are selfless, but most special teams players are selfish because they want the glory. They want to be the guy that downs the football inside the 5. You know what is even more impressive? The guy that taps it back that doesn't allow it to go in the end zone. You don't have to be the guy that actually stops the ball, right? And the one where the official comes in, throws the blue bag down and says, this is where the ball is going to be spotted. You don't got to be that guy. Just be the guy that stops it from going in the end zone. This clown runs all the way down there and then grabs the ball. You're running too fast. These dudes are running like 18, 19 miles an hour. Do you really think just because you got the football all of a sudden, you're going to slam on the brakes? Like the ball gives you this magical power to just stop all your momentum from taking you into the end zone. And it's like they lose their mind for a second. I got the football. Mama, look, I got the football. It's like Waterboy. I got the football. I got the football. And then you get hit, right? Bro, you got the ball and you moving at this high rate of speed. Don't look at the ball. Don't say toss it backwards immediately. But you shouldn't even catch it. Your first inclination should be tap it back. And he didn't have to catch it. That thing went up in the air like 20 yards, it felt like. It hit the ground, and that thing went in the air forever. All he had to do was slap it back. He had another teammate waiting right there. He had to be the star of the show. He had to be the one to grab it and down it, and he goes into the end zone with the ball. Do you know how big of a play that would have been? It's 24-24. Do you know how big of a play that would have been to down it at the 1 and make Brock Purdy and this offense have to go 99 yards for a touchdown? Who knows what happens? They could fumble the snap. Brock Purdy, there could be a holding penalty in the end zone. Who knows what could happen? We just saw Jalen Hurts take a horrible safety in Wild Card Weekend. Who knows? There could have been a safety. We'll never know. I can't deal with that level of incompetence. That shit wouldn't exist on my team. As a fan, I would lose my shit. If I was a Lions fan, I'd have lost my shit on that play. I'd have been cussing his ass out. You dumb MF for this, that, third. Because you can't do that. Not here, not in the championship game. You want to do that in week 3 against Chicago? Knock yourself out. You want to do that shit in week 7 against Tampa? Go right ahead. Don't do that shit in the NFC championship game. That's dope. That's dumb football. Those types of mistakes get you beat. Anyway, I digress. That was a hell of a punt. And you hate to see efforts like that go in vain. You can't kick this shit any better. First, he kicked the shit out of it so much so that the 49er punt returner said, to hell with that. That shit got to be going in the end zone. Let it go, and that shit checked up perfectly at the 2 for this clown to run all the way down there and walk in the end zone with the bitch. Got to be more careful. Anyway, I digress. Hell of an effort by the Lions, but this one stings. This is one they'll be talking about in the Motor City for years to come, especially if they don't see another NFC Championship game for a long time. This will be one that they'll be talking about because this one is the one that got away. And to think, if you started to allow, and I've done this as a fan, to allow yourself to imagine a victory before you get it. I've never been at the point, though, where I could envision my team going to the Super Bowl. Like we're a half away, literally. But if you allowed yourself to wander, your mind to wander for a second, like, yo, we really about to do this. You already beat Kansas City this year. Like there's a psychological advantage that you would have had going in. We beat these chumps in their building already. We know we can beat them. We a better team than we were in week 1. We got way more confidence now. So do the Chiefs. And remember, there was no Travis Kelce in that game. Don't forget. Still, you wouldn't have been able to tell me nothing if I was a Lions fan. We'll never find out now, right? Too many mistakes. Couldn't down a punt at the 1, dropped an interception, went for it twice on 4th down, didn't get it. Had to burn a timeout. That's the one mistake I think Ben Johnson made, was he tried to run it there at the end. But it shouldn't even gotten that. Anthony Ferkser, bro, where are your brakes? You don't have anti-lock brakes? No brakes. All gas, no brakes, huh? Damn. But you can't run it there. Because you need all 3 of your timeout. You can't run it there. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section, see what you guys got to say. We started the show off with Niners fan. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Niners fan, congratulations. The boys are heading back to the Super Bowl, and see what you get done, right? Lou, what a win. What a win indeed. Down 17 at halftime. I would have loved to have talked to you at halftime to see what you were feeling at that point. Did you think you were going to win at halftime? Did you see a comeback coming? Or were you like, this is some shit. This is that Kyle Shanahan shit. What were you feeling at the time? I'd love to know. Brock was amazing and clutch. Kyle ran the football. The defense made huge stops. Now time for revenge from 2020. This has to be our year. We'll see. I'm going to tell you what, your defense is going to have to play better. I'm not looking to rain on your parade right now, though. I'm celebrate, damn it. You going to the Super Bowl. I'm not here to shit on that. Like, we got plenty of time to overanalyze what needs to be done in order for you to hoist that Lombardi, right? But you made the plays that you had to make in order to give yourself a chance. When you dig a hole that deep, almost everything has to be perfect for you to be able to rally, and not just rally and take the lead, but go up 2 scores, 10. And everything did go perfect. You literally, up until the point where they got the touchdown, you shut them out in the second half. You went from trailing by 17 at half to 27 unanswered points in second half of this game. So it's a big win. And Brock Purdy delivered. Like you said, Kyle Shanahan stuck with the run, 20 carries for Christian McCaffrey, even though, it was not easy for him in this game, especially early, but he stuck with it, and it made a huge difference. 2 touchdowns for him. Defense made the stops on 4th down. Look, it wasn't pretty, and you gave up 442 yards of total offense, and Jared Goff was able to, be comfortable back there. We knew that was going to be one of the biggest, things in the game was, could you get pressure on Goff? The answer was no, consistently throughout the night. No, you couldn't. But when you had to have it, you got it done. That's what matters most. Derek B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, sometimes you have to stop the bleeding and kick the field goal. Yeah. I mean, I know this is who you are, and that's what you've always been about, and that's what you're going to be. And you've made your bones as the coach of this team by being aggressive, and I'm pretty sure all of his players will back him up, and nobody's going to point the blame at the coach for going for it, because that's who they've been. And the players would much rather you believe in them and go for it than you check up and kick a field goal. But at the same time, as a coach, it is your job to do what is right. And in his mind, he did what he thought was right. But I didn't love the decision at 24-10 to not take the field goal, because again, I'm all about pushing the lead out to a 3-score game. And in my mind, the way I'm looking at it is they just did all of that on that last drive, and they only got a field goal. If you come back and respond with a field goal, it negates what they just did. And so again, now they start looking at the clock. Now they start pressing because they didn't cut into the lead at all. And now we're halfway through the third quarter, right? We're running out of time here. We need 3 scores. We're not going to have but so many more possessions left in this game. And so these are the things you start thinking about. But they didn't kick the field goal. That's fine. Tied at 24, though. I mean, or down 27 to 24 with like 6 minutes left in it. Like, you got to kick the field goal, bro. I got to have it. You got to kick the field goal. Got to tie the game up. What are we talking about? That one I didn't love. Jason Rogers, thank you for being a member for 20 months. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Uncle Jay, writes, if old habits die hard was a person, it would be Dan Campbell. Hey, look, I'm not going to be upset at Dan Campbell for staying true to who he is. I've always said this. If you're man enough and you're lucky enough to be successful in enough of these situations to where people call you a genius and, oh my God, what a gutsy call. And you get all this praise and accolades for being aggressive. You got to be man enough to stand there 10 toes down in your shit when it don't work. And he's always said, I'm not afraid of having to answer to a decision that I made that doesn't work out where I'm being aggressive. And if you go back and look at his first 2 years, when they started 0-10, and then the next year they started 1-6, he was just as aggressive. Just as aggressive. It wasn't working, but he never stopped being aggressive. All of a sudden, the tables turn, they start working, and voila, you're 12-5, and you're a half away from the Super Bowl. So I can't be mad at him. But as I mentioned already, if you live aggressively, the death will be spectacular. This was a spectacular death we watched tonight. It takes a lot to blow a 17-point lead in the second half of a playoff game on the road. That's not easy to do. The Lions died a spectacular death tonight. And with this death, I think goes any hope of them getting back here because they're losing Ben Johnson. I think all of the momentum that they built, and we'll see. Campbell's a hell of a coach. They'll still have Aaron Glenn as their defensive coordinator. We'll see who they get to be their offensive coordinator, and who knows? There may be a guy already on that roster ready to step in, and they don't miss a beat. I could be wrong about that. But if history repeats itself, what history has shown is that the next guy isn't going to step in and beat Ben Johnson. You can't replicate what he had them doing. There was a belief with Ben Johnson that we're going to get this shit done. You got to take advantage of these opportunities. I think it was Tony Romo who said it. Might have been Greg Olson. One of these dudes said, you don't know if you're going to, and I think it was Romo, because Romo can speak to that, because he thought he was going to get to a Super Bowl. And you don't know how many of these opportunities you're going to get. And I think he was talking about Lamar Jackson. Like, you can't take this shit for granted and just say, oh, we'll be back next year. Lamar Jackson gets injured next year. Are you back? Hell no. You don't know what's going to happen. You're not going to have the same team. Guys are going to leave, go get paid elsewhere. You know, coaches are going to leave. It's never going to be what it was this year. This is your opportunity. The Lions blew it. They blew it. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes, hope they don't fire Campbell and offer a head coach. They're not going to do that to Ben Johnson. They're not going to do that. And Dan Campbell has been everything to that Lions organization. He, along with Brad Holmes, have changed their entire culture there. And so there's no way that that's happening. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Benny J, come on over to Washington. No waiting. And I tweeted that out. I said, Benjamin, we'll see you tomorrow. Deuces. See you tomorrow, bro. We were gonna have to wait, and I didn't mind waiting. Like, I wasn't gonna rush the process, but you already know it's a done deal when the play-by-play man tells you, you know, it's already been reported that he's gonna probably take the Washington job. They don't say stuff like that on air unless they feel pretty damn confident in what they're saying. They're not gonna just say shit just to say it. You know, He coming to Washington. That feels pretty damn good. Swaggy P, been a member for 15 months. Appreciate you. Writes, drops and risky gambles are the reason the Lions lost. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to it than just that, but those were huge reasons why. The fumble too. Don't forget about that. Like that fumble, the 49ers didn't have to do anything but drive 24 yards or whatever it was. Like that was huge. There's a lot that goes into blowing a 17-point lead. A lot goes into that. Not just the gambles, not just the drops. It's a lot that goes into that. Those were huge, though. Just Andre, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, don't know why people are blaming Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell and Dan when Reynolds has 2 drops. If anything, Glenn is to blame. Defense has been bad all playoffs. Why does he have head coaching interviews? Because the defense was actually pretty solid this year. Defense was actually pretty solid this year. But this is the thing. You were comparing it to last year's defense, and they were awful last year. And Campbell stuck it out and said, no, I believe in Aaron Glenn, and he gave him another shot, and it paid off. He was better. And there's something to be said about continuing with the same scheme and allowing guys to get even more comfortable and then getting more talented players, which is what they've been continuing to do every year. They've been upgrading the defense and getting more talent in there, and it showed, right? They were comfortable. They knew where to be. They knew how the system worked, and you saw it. But in the playoffs, they were abysmal. Every single week, they were giving it up. And this week was no different. The only difference this week is there wasn't one guy accountable for a huge chunk of the total yards given up. In Wild Card Weekend, it was Puka Nacua that dug in their ass. Pause. I think he had a $181. Last week, it was Michael Evans. I think he had 140-something, 150-something yards. And then, this week, there was no single culprit. They spread it around. Everybody got some. I would put more of the blame on Aaron Glenn and the defense than anything else. But again, the offense and the coaching could have alleviated some of the pressure that the defense felt in this game. They didn't, right? They didn't make the plays. Campbell made the calls that he can. But you already know how Campbell operates. So that's not new. It's not like Dan Campbell threw his coaches or his players or anybody involved a curveball. That's why I say I don't have any problems with it, because it's the consistency of it. They know what to expect. He didn't just pull one over on them like, bro, we've been kicking field goals all year. Where is this coming from? No, he's already built up a callus with them, so they know. They're preconditioned to know, oh, we going for this shit. They just got to execute, and they didn't tonight. Video channel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Uncle Mo was showing off today. A half with each team. Yeah, he was. He had more fun on the 49ers sideline, though, than he did on the Lions sideline. That was the outcome of the game. Oh, really? Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, you haters say that to Dan's face, get KO'd. I don't even know what that means. I'm pretty sure this is a Lions fan that's just frustrated. Hey, man, whatever you got to do to get it out, man, just do it. I ain't even mad at you, bro. I'm not even mad at Dan Campbell. I'll save that for everybody else who's upset. I'm not, because this is who he is. But if that's what you got to do, all caps, not making any sense, and get KO'd, hey, man, I feel for you, bro. I do. I feel for you because this was your shot. So I get it. Let it out. Let it out. King of the Bluegrass. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, yeah, Greg Olson also said Chase Young was a premier edge in the league. I mean, that's what a lot of these commentators do, right? They build up players. And when you're a former player, you're not going to shit on a guy. This dude was the number 2 overall pick. They traded for him. That's all he's talking about. He's not talking about he's playing like a premier edge. He's simply just saying, look, he's got pedigree. Came into the league with fanfare, won Defensive Rookie of the Year, was the former number 2 overall pick. Like, that's a premier guy. He's supposed to be. He's not performing like it, but he's not gonna say that. So, King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I'm down for the first 4th down attempt, but you have to take the 3 points on the second one. You have to. I think I agree with that. The first one was the one where it was 24-10. I would have taken the points personally, just because, again, I'm big on making it a 3-point game, right? But at the end of the day, cool. You were going for the jugular vein. I get it. You were up. You still had house money. You were up 14, right? So I'm cool. At the point where it's now 27-24 and you're losing, and we're deep in the 4th quarter now. Like, this ain't with 11 minutes and 12 seconds left in the 4th quarter. This with 6-7 minutes, 6 minutes left in the 4th quarter. Like, we running out of possessions now. They don't even have to score again. If they just get 5 first downs and you force you to use your timeouts, the game you might not see the rock again. I can't. I got to take the points there. That's the one that I'm like, damn, my man, come on. But, it is what it is. It's who he's been. And so it is what it is. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy, Chris, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Chris writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Chris? I hope all is well. Likewise. Campbell was consistent all season in being aggressive. Facts. But not just this season. A lot of people just have been introduced to the Lions and don't know what Dan Campbell was doing when they went, 3-13-1 or went, 9-8 last year. This is who he's been since day one when he was talking about biting off kneecaps. He says, curious your thoughts on the run call on 3rd and not having a play call for 4th down and 10 and burning the timeout. This prevented them from kicking deep after the touchdown. I talked about that briefly already, but I'll expound upon that. That was the one thing that I thought Ben Johnson did tonight that I didn't agree with. Of everything that he did, that was the one call where I went, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. First of all, I hated the sprint out on 1st down, on what was it, second and goal. I hate sprint outs because you cut the field in half. I hate those. So that was a wasted down. Then you come back and you run it. I didn't agree with that. You have to throw it. If you were going to run it on 4th down, right? Because then it's either I score this touchdown, the game's over. That's where we at with it. You want to run it on 4th down. But I wouldn't have run it on 3rd down. Because, again, you got it. I mean, I get it. If you don't score the touchdown, none of this shit matters anyway. But the percentage of recovering an onside kick is so low in the NFL now because of the rules that they've instituted to protect the player safety. You're just not going to recover an onside kick unless something freaky happens. So you want to be able to kick the football off deep, use your 3 timeouts and try to get it back. And the only way that you were going to be able to do that is if you threw it three times. Should never been in that position. Anthony Ferguson should have scored a touchdown. So should never been in that position, but you can't run the football there on that 3rd and goal play. You can't do it. Cannot do it. Charles, the farming guy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Charles writes, bad situational football on Dan. My poor wife, LOL. She's probably taking it pretty tough, huh? It was for me. But this, again, I can't stress this enough. I've said it a million times. I'm going to continue to say it. This is who he is. So you can complain about situational football all you want, but I agree with you. At a certain point, like Derek B said earlier, you got to stop the bleeding. And I can't think of a better time to settle for the field goal than it being 27-24. You're trailing in the game as the clock is dwindling and you're running out of possessions. Because I think in those situations, you weigh the risk versus the reward. So say you convert and you score the touchdown. Because this is the thing that drives me nuts in situations like that is, you convert it. The next 3 downs, you could have not gotten it and have to still settle for a field goal. Like, if you're going for it there, then that means you're going for it the rest of the game, right? You're going for it the rest of this possession. But what happens if you end up in a 4th and 7? You ain't going for it then, right? You're kicking a field goal. So you just went for it on 4th and 4, 4th and 2, whatever, and you got it. But now it's 4th and 7, and you risk it all, and now you still got to settle for a field goal, right? That's the shit that bothers me, is that the risk isn't worth the reward, because even if they had gone down and scored a touchdown, the 49ers still got a chance to go down and score a touchdown and take the lead. It's not like scoring a touchdown there would have left the 49ers with limited options, no timeouts, need to drive the length of the field. You're down 4, you need a touchdown, and it's only 47 seconds left. Like, they had plenty of time to still go down. Like, you were really risking your team having a chance to win the game by not settling for the field goal, is my point. The risk just wasn't worth the reward to me. The risk way outweighed the reward. It wasn't balanced. I feel for your wife. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy Chris, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, hey, Lou, I know that we have 2 weeks, but do you think that we will have a high-scoring Super Bowl, or do you think one or both of these defenses will shine, and why? I think we're going to have a relatively mid-scoring Super Bowl. Like, it won't be like the Chiefs and Ravens the game, because these two defenses aren't that good. The Chiefs defense is that good. This 49ers defense is not that good. It's not that good. So what ultimately is going to happen is both teams are going to score. If there's one team that doesn't, it'll be the 49ers. If that Chiefs defense, because Spags is going to heat up. Kyle's going to have to be on his best behavior, and he's going to have a plan. The screen game is going to have to be ready. And he'll be ready. Like, they'll have those Deebo Samuel screens loaded up, ready. And he's like, yo, just give me the word. I will press the damn button. Bring one of those blitzes. I'm going to have number 19 ready to go on one of these wide receiver screens. You go ahead. He'll be ready, right? It won't be like the Ravens today, where they act like they never seen a blitz and they're not ready with the screen game. Kyle's going to be ready to send one of them bitches. Boop! He's going to press the Deebo button, right? He's going to press that McCaffrey button. Boop! Right? He's going to have a screen ready. It's going to be in the 20s. If somebody makes it to 30, they win. Like, the first to 30 wins. But I expect it to be like a 27 to 23, 24 to, 28 to 24 type of Super Bowl, one of those. Like, I don't expect it to be super low like we saw in the AFC Championship game. And I don't think it's going to be a super high like this one, 34-30, where both teams are in the 30s. I think both teams will be in the 20s. Maybe one team makes it to the 30s, and that team will win the game. If there's one team that makes it to the 30s, I think it'll be the Chiefs, and they'll win the game. But if this thing stays in the 20s, both teams have an equal shot at winning this game. Heavy K, Commanders fan. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, we need a running back like Pacheco, Gibbs, Gordon, and a tall wide receiver. We already got a running back like Pacheco. I mean, he's a one of a kind from a standpoint of how hard he runs on every single snap. But Brian Robinson, can run the football. I'm more so like, we need a guy like David Montgomery, and I feel like Brian Robinson can be a David Montgomery type. I don't think he can make guys miss like Montgomery can necessarily, but similar run style, similar physicality, yards after contact, etc., etc. We need a Gibbs. That's what we need. Tall receiver, we'll see. The Lions don't have a tall receiver necessarily, so we'll see. I would love some variety. Variety is the spice of life. I'd love to add one, but Zoe Life, No Life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, using Sewell as a tight end the entire drive, so many OCs would get spooked and change it up. Nah, not Ben Johnson. Lou, would you say if you scared, masterclass? You said Lou would say, if you scared, say you scared. Look, I saw him going in motion, and I remember Trent Williams had a list of his favorite tackles in the NFL. Of course, not including himself. The top, I think it was like the top 3 or 5 tackles he listed, not including himself. And the first name out of his mouth was Penei Sewell. And it's because I think he sees a lot of himself in Penei Sewell in the athletic department. Remember against the Green Bay Packers in a playoff game a couple years ago, Trent Williams went in motion and he mauled a guy, right? Like, I don't even know if he hit anybody, but just the fact that this 300-pounder was running at you full speed, like nobody wanted that smoke, right? That you can do that with Penei Sewell. That's what they were doing. And he was open. I thought they were going to throw it to him. I thought they were setting up something for later in the game because he was open on one of those third downs and golf went in a different direction. They converted, so it wasn't a big deal, but he was wide ass open because nobody's expecting a big number 68, whatever number he is, to get the football. So it's easy to sneak his ass into the flats and nobody paying attention to him because even though he's eligible, they ain't throwing the ball to him. You know, you might throw the ball to a tackle down by the goal line. You ain't throwing it to him at the 40-yard line, though. They would have really caught him off guard had they thrown him that shit. And he can run, too. But, yeah, Ben Johnson is different, man. He definitely different. Metro Cash. Metro Cash wants some more. Stand up. You know what it is. You in the building. Y'all know what to do. Show Metro some love. Really appreciate you. Metro Cash, welcome to the squad. Glad to have you. Mike Jink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, what's your opinion on our new offensive coordinator? Seen mixed reviews. Honestly, worst thing you could have done. Because you just got out of a toxic relationship with a coordinator that didn't understand the importance of running the football. And you went into another toxic relationship with an offensive coordinator who doesn't understand the importance of running the football. So essentially what you've done is you've typecast yourself, right? It's like knowing I don't need another toxic relationship, but that's the kind of people I'm attracted to. So you can't be upset when you get what you get. What was the knock on Kellen Moore in Dallas? They had top whatever offense every year. They scored a bunch of points, led the league in points scored, yada, 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 all that good stuff. Why did Mike McCarthy get rid of him? Because he said, I need to run the ball more. So he goes to L.A., and what's the biggest complaint Chargers fans have? We need to run the ball more. He's not going to change who he is. He is who he is. So you're going to throw it, and you'll have a much better plan. Like, he's not a bad coordinator, okay? He'll scheme up some shit. You'll have guys running open. Kellen Moore is no dummy. You're just not going to run the football. And with that offensive line and what you have the ability to do behind that line running the football, that's the shit that's going to drive you nuts. But he's an upgrade over Brian Johnson, I'll tell you that much. He ain't no Shane Steichen, though. I'll tell you that, too. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, time to clock in, Ben, as a commander. Birdman hand rub. You know, with some Lions fans who are holding on for dear life, like, hey, I don't think he's going to take any of these jobs that are available now. It's just Seattle and Washington. He doesn't want any of those jobs. He'll be back here in Detroit next year. I'm like, hey, man, you got to stop. I know how bad you want him back, and it sucks. This is what success does. It breeds this type of behavior. People want what you have, so you're going to lose some stuff. But you got to let it go. This is why it was important to take advantage of it while you had it. Red Wing 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Red Wing 01 writes, disappointing finish, but what a run it was for Detroit. Baltimore, you had one job and you blew it. Now I need Kyle Shanahan to not choke a Super Bowl. That was the same thing I talked to my sister on the phone. Sister Lou, for a lot of y'all, Falcons fan. I didn't realize how much vitriol she had for anybody that was associated with 28-3. Like, she is holding on to a grudge like I've never seen in my life from her. Like, I was like, where is all of this coming from? And she was just going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. She was like, Dan Quinn ain't winning nothing. She said, Kyle can't win nothing. I'm glad they getting their butt toe up because she don't cuss. I'm glad they getting their butt toe up. And I was just sitting there watching, and I was like, come on, Lamar. And then you know what? I said, you know what? I can't be getting mad because this ain't my team. They ain't going to be getting, I'm not going to be over here yelling, screaming. This ain't my team. I don't even care. You know, that's what you do when you realize it ain't going the way you want it to go, right? Oh, I don't care. It ain't my team. She said, now, though, I want the Lions to win so I can just root for the Lions, right? Because I don't want to see Mahomes win another Super Bowl. I'm tired of them winning. But she's like, I'm going to have to root for the dang on Chiefs if Kyle go because I don't want him winning nothing. I said, damn, it's like that. So you'd be amazed at how people have rooting interest, even though they don't actually have a dog in the fight. There was a lot of people who didn't want to see the Chiefs win. I already told y'all, though. They dangerous, man. They the new Brady and Belichick. They the new evil empire, man. Respect it for what it is. And here's the part that should make a lot of y'all upset. Other than Andy Reid potentially retiring, and he flirted with that last year, and if they win again, I would assume that conversation would come up again. And Travis Kelce, too, right? He's getting up there in age. The only thing that could break this dynasty down is the retirement of Andy Reid and or Travis Kelce. As long as that conglomerate of Reid, Mahomes, and Kelce exists, they're going to be around. That's just what it is. Now, things will get a little tougher. Harbaugh to the rescue in the AFC West, but Baltimore had a chance. They blew it. So we'll see what happens. Dave O from the 757. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, what up, Lou? What's up, Dave O? I guess Kyle heard me talking about him. He did. Loud and clear. Anyways, tough break for Detroit. Huge misses to put the game away. Probably worst Super Bowl matchup we could get. Not the worst. It's the best for the NFL. This is what they wanted, right? This is what they wanted. Chiefs, 49ers. They would have taken Ravens, 49ers. It just the 49ers needed to be a part of the equation. The worst outcome was Lions, anybody. Hard to sell the Lions. They would have built up, oh, my God, what a storybook season. You know, never been to the Super Bowl, haven't been in a championship since 1957. They would have built that shit up, but the lay fan ain't trying to hear that shit. What you can sell to any fan is Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. You can sell to a non-NFL fan, Taylor Swift. Her ass will be there. I've never seen a player turned on because of his girlfriend before, but that's exactly what's happening. It was this close to happening to Patrick Mahomes because of his wife, right? I think his brother had already crossed that territory, but people was like, yo, you can't, you know, blame somebody for what their brother doing. You know, Jackson is a dumbass, right? Travis Kelce, he catching hell for Taylor Swift, but you can't go but so far because you don't want none of the Swifties. You don't want that smoke. You'll go all the way up until that line as close as you can go until you realize I should back up right now. Same thing with the Beehive. You don't want that smoke, bro. So you go as close as you can without pissing them off, poking that hive, and then you back off. They're fine. You can sell Niners and Chiefs. You can sell that all day, every day. LT, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. LT writes, Hurts with Kellen Moore is Steichen like stability. Nah, that's not the same. It's not the same. Kellen Moore is going to devise a scheme that will maximize the pass game. He will not take full advantage of your run game. And you will find yourself saying, we need to run the ball more. And Kellen Moore don't give a shit about you wanting to run the ball more. That's just not who he is. Steichen understood, if you can't stop the run, I'm about to force feed you this run game, and it ain't a damn thing you can do about it. It's a different animal. You got to be wired differently to just say, oh, you can't stop the run? Oh, we up big? I'm about to feed you this run game and you can't stop it. You can't. There's nothing you can do. You got to be built different. You got to think a certain way. When you're wired to throw the football, it's hard to turn that off. Even when you up, even when the other team can't stop the run, it's hard to turn that off. I see it all the time with coaches who can't help themselves. Been there, done that. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Been there, done that. Right. As the new Washington head coach, this was just another selling point for my resume. Are you not entertained? Man, I can't wait to work with the talent here in Washington. Terry, Dot, and the second pick, 80 mil and Cap. We can't wait to bring this man on board for all of the reasons just listed and then some. Him and Adam Peters, we're hoping they can have a Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell-like ascension here in Washington. The biggest difference will be we ain't got to worry about losing our play caller if they're able to turn it around. It'll be more like the 49ers with John Lynch and Shanahan. I'm trying to win something, though. But if we can turn this bitch around, man, and it's going to take some time. But year 3 was the year for the 49ers. Year 3 was the year for the Lions. Year 3 was the year for the Texans. That's what I got my eyes set on, year 3. We can turn this bitch around. Good times. Good times. Chauncey Davis, thank you for being a member for 28 months. OG, triple OG. My guy, CD. Right. Ben Johnson, you ready? Because we're coming. Pause. Yes, we are. I already said, hey, Ben, we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, my man. We already on the plane right now, on a red eye. Heading to Detroit. We'll beat you there. We won't meet you there. We'll beat you there. I see you first thing tomorrow morning, my man. Hope you're ready. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Chargers and Washington top 4 candidates for Hard Knocks. Winner. Again, you don't have to do Hard Knocks if you have a new head coach. So the Chargers nor the Commanders are in line for Hard Knocks this year. They don't want to do it. They don't have to do it. And I would assume neither of them want to do it. Now, Ben Johnson has been a part of Hard Knocks with the Detroit Lions, but no first-time head coach wants that distraction. None. I can't think of a guy that goes into a situation and says, I want all the cameras on my situation as we try to turn things around. No, that ain't what you're looking to do. So, no. I don't see either one of those teams ended up on Hard Knocks. King of the Bluegrass. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB once again. King of the Bluegrass writes, watching Johnson's play designs was like watching a Russian ballet, beautiful and with perfect synchronicity. It's always a joy watching a master at work. And that's what it feels like watching Ben Johnson. The diversity with which he, calls his plays, how he strings them together. Like, this was the shit we were missing, right? One of my biggest complaints with EB, aside from the lack of the run, not seeing the screens and the quick pass game and things, there was no fluidity. There was no rhyme or reason. It was like he was just calling random shit off of his play sheet. Like, you setting all of this up for what? Are you going to call something that goes off of that looks just like that? That's what you get with Ben Johnson, right? He's setting stuff up. You don't really see the good ones know how to string plays together, how to set things up. But the thing that I think I'm most attracted to with his play calling is the run game and how diverse it is. You can get inside, outside zone. You get gun runs. You can get under center. You can get duos with the double teams up front. You can get power. You can get counters and traps. You can get it all. Like, he runs a little bit of everything. There's no, he didn't come from the Shanahan's tree, right? He didn't come from this person's tree or that person's tree. he just kind of, it's like a melting pot of different things, and it's beautiful to watch. It really, truly is. Rolando Cedeno, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Rolando writes, imagine if Sam Howell would have had the Lions O-line and Ben Johnson as his OC. Can you imagine that? I mean, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, oh, what a wonderful world it would be, right? Like, that's revisionist history. You know I hate it for Sam. You know that. You know I hated it for him. He wasn't set up for success. But that's the nature of the beast. That's the NFL, right? And it is what it is. We'll see what happens, but the likelihood is they're going to take a quarterback, and Sam had a shot. I still think he's got a chance to be successful in this league. It just probably won't be in Washington. That's all. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, what you think McDonald fit for the Seahawks? That'd be a great fit. Because I think from listening to everybody talk about him, he's a leader of men. The thing that I've been most impressed with in listening to people talk about him is his attention to detail. Even today, they lost the game. They gave up 17 points. The attention to detail and how he attacks each and every single opponent differently. It's not the same scheme. Like some guys, they just run their scheme. They may tweak it here or there to tailor it to the strengths of the team that they're playing that week. But, hey, if I run cover 3, you get in cover 3. All right. If I play primarily zone, you're getting primarily zone in this game. He's a guy that will tweak his defense every single week to tailor it specifically to combat the offense that he's playing that week. And that's why those players love playing for him. It's like we get a different game plan every week, and it's specifically tailored to stop that team and what they do best. That's a winning formula in this league. You win a lot of football games doing that. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Seahawks fans looking at McDonald like y'all looking at Ben Johnson. That's a good dude to be looking at like that. Pause. But does he want y'all is the question. Does he see that as a great fit for himself? Because he doesn't have to take a job. He can go back to Baltimore, run it back, and wait next year and wait for an opportunity that he sees, being a perfect fit for him. If he loves Geno Smith as a quarterback, thinks that the defensive pieces that they have in Baltimore or Seattle are good enough for him to come in and, get it done, then maybe he takes that job. I mean, it's a lot of talent in Seattle. Don't get me wrong. Can you win a Super Bowl with Geno Smith as your quarterback? That's the question you got to ask yourself. If you truly believe the answer is yes, take the job. Because there's enough talent on offense there, and if you feel confident in your abilities to whip that defense into shape, take the job. But if you're like, I don't see a path to us winning the Super Bowl with Geno Smith, don't take the job. Because the Seahawks are in a position to change their quarterback situation. And they're one of those middling franchises where they're not going to be in a position, unless you make a trade, they're not going to be in a position to draft a quarterback. They're going to be too good. So that's a good one. That's an interesting dilemma, to say the least. But we'll see what happens. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. King of the Bluegrass writes, I am a defensive guy. McDonald was my choice, but I do believe Johnson is the best choice for Washington. And I can't blame anybody that was all in on McDonald, but I don't want to have a defensive-minded guy come in here. You draft a quarterback, and, let's say you hit a home run on an offensive coordinator. We don't know who that guy would be, but let's say you hit a home run on the offensive coordinator. And just like the Lions, 2-3 years down the road, somebody's coming to scoop him up. Now you got to pray that the next guy in line, like the Bills still haven't recovered from losing Brian Daboll. Joe Brady did a really solid job in relief of Ken Dorsey. But that offense I watched against the Chiefs, that shit was trash. Sorry, not sorry. They were babysitting Josh Allen like he was some marginal ass quarterback in the league. They were babysitting that man like his name wasn't Josh Allen. They treated him like he was Zach Wilson or some shit. It's hard to find good offensive coordinators, man. You find yourself a damn good play caller. That's the thing. Defensive coordinators come and go. I prefer you to get one that don't go nowhere like Steve Spagnuolo, but you find you another. The 49ers then went through 3 of them things already. This is the worst one. Usually after the first 2, it's hard to get that third one. That's what happened with Ron Rivera. Sean McDermott got a job, Steve Wilkes got a job, and then the third dude was ass. Robert Saleh gets a job, D'Amico Ryans get a job, and now Steve Wilkes is there. But you can find a defensive coordinator. They come a dime a dozen. It's a lot of smart defensive dudes that can whip a defense into shape. And it's hard to find a top-notch A1 play caller, though. Give me one of them. Give me one of them. Oh. You know what it is. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Championship Sunday Overtime. 49ers rally back after a 17-point deficit at the break, down 24-17. They scored 27 unanswered points in the second half, take a 10-point lead, hold on 34-31 to advance to Super Bowl 58, where they will meet the Kansas City Chiefs, a team they met in the Super Bowl back in 2020. So this should be a good one. And I'm looking forward to it. We'll have 2 weeks to, talk about this, to build up all of that good stuff. But at the end of the day, Detroit, you're going to be kicking yourself on this one. You had this game, and you let it slip through your damn fingers. You let the 49ers off the hook. Resiliency shown by the 49ers. Credit to them. Credit to them. Credit to them. But they can't do this without your help. You don't overcome a 17-point deficit without the other team helping you out. You did your part, and they did theirs. Got one more super, or a couple more supers. We'll knock these out. Rocky D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, we interview Baltimore, D.C. tomorrow. Is like a Peters, and I hope it's not a surprise. Ben Johnson is the guy. Dallas, D.C. waiting to make a lateral move to us. I don't know what's going to happen with the defensive coordinator situation. I love Dan Quinn, but I don't like his philosophical approach, because if you can't stop the run in this league consistently, that's a problem. Now, we play in a division where nobody prioritizes running the football. Dallas doesn't. The Eagles don't. So it may not hurt you, but you're going to run into somebody in the playoffs that's like, nah, we running this bitch. And then what? I love Dan Quinn's style of defense, and I wouldn't be upset if they hired him, if that's what he decided to do. I don't know if Dallas is going to allow him to leave or not. I know they were upset at how the season ended, and if he gets a head coaching job, cool, but I'm not sure if they're like done with him. Like, if he doesn't get a head coaching job, they might be like, let's run this shit back. Because they literally built that defense in the image of Dan Quinn. It's hard to just pivot and switch gears. They're built to win with the style of defense that he calls. So I don't know if they'll allow him to take a lateral move. I don't know if they're done with him if he doesn't get a head coaching job. We'll see. A lot of that stuff right now. With the Eagles, it was kind of funky how that all went. They never really announced Sirianni was going to be back. And then, they fired the DC, then they fired the OC, and, then they hired 2 different dudes. So we know what's going on. Dallas is the same way. Like, they made it abundantly clear McCarthy's back. But then they never really said, all right, are we going to go in a different direction defensively? Are we going to let, our head coach call the plays again? Like, they never made anything abundantly clear. They just kind of was like, damn, our season's over. So I don't know. We'll see. Rolando Cedeno, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? I would make Dan Quinn the highest DC in football. Vic Fangio left Miami and became the Eagles DC. Again, we'll see what happens. Like, Dallas can block that. We don't have any say-so in what Dan Quinn does. If we're not offering him a head coaching job, then it's a lateral move, and Dallas can block that if they want. So that's not really – if Dallas is done with him and they're like, yeah, now you can go ahead and go, then that's when you can start to approach that situation. But right now, he's being interviewed for a head coaching situation. That's why all these interviews are taking place. These aren't lateral moves right now. If no one's hiring for a head coaching gig, he probably is better served just going back to Dallas. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. 34-31 is your final score. What an entertaining game this was. I really enjoyed both games thoroughly for different reasons. The first one was more of a defensive game. This one had all the offensive fireworks. It had all the ebbs and flows. One team dominates first half, the other team dominates the second half. Some questionable decision making. It had everything, right? It had everything. So anyway, Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, get this Dallas to Terry Ronald. I'm assuming you wanted Dallas to interview Ronald. What we doing with the keys, man? What we doing with the keys here? What we doing? Come on now. Metaphor, you better than that. I don't expect that from you. What we doing here? Alex, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Alex writes, just watched your Dan Snyder out of DC coverage. I'm still giddy from all of that. Benny J is the next part of this year's legacy. So far, so good, homies. This is all a part of the process. All a part of the plan. You can't skip steps in this, Alex. And so this year was tough. We had to endure it as a fan base, but it was a necessary evil, as I talked about on the final episode of the Reign of Terror. It was a necessary evil. Without the second overall pick, I don't know if we are able to attract a GM like Adam Peters. That's a huge pick. I don't know if you're able to attract a Ben Johnson without the second pick because it allows that next group to pick their quarterback. Even if the guy they want is Caleb Williams and they can't get to him, you're still in a great position. You get the next guy, whoever you think is good after him. You get that guy if you so choose, right? But the cap space, the draft capital, everything's set up. Now you just got to go out and execute. It's a good place to be. Good place to be. Anyway, you guys get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I am. That was fun. But it's also bittersweet because you know what that means, right? This is the last weekend that we'll have multiple football games being played. Professional tackle football. Now, if you're a UFL fan, if you enjoyed the XFL or the USFL and they're merging and now they're the UFL and you get down with the DC Defenders and all that shit, well, then this isn't bittersweet for you. You just move on to the spring football. For me, I don't watch that shit. So this is it for me. This is the last weekend where I'll have multiple games on. It's the end. It sucks. We got one more game, and then we're off to the off season, and all we can then do is talk about football. We won't actually see it. Anyway, I digress. Y'all get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I look forward to chopping it up with y'all tomorrow. And hopefully we'll get some news. If not tomorrow, I expect it Tuesday. But We know what it is. Make it happen. Don't keep us waiting, right? Y'all get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Y'all know what it is. God bless. Good night. Congratulations to the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Your 2 participants in Super Bowl 58 in Vegas. Have a good one.